Liverpool and Arsenal are heating up the Premier League title. This weekend, we've witnessed 9 goals against 2 sides from both Arsenal and Liverpool that put a lot of pressure on the likes of Man City and even Aston Villa if you include them in the Premier League title race. But we're going to talk about Liverpool and Arsenal and where they sit in the race to win the Premier League. I think they're both in it. Mark my words on that one. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's just talk about Liverpool, the most recent game that I've watched. And we'll talk about Arsenal in a minute as well. Liverpool looked very, very good against Bournemouth. The way they picked their punches, the way they sliced through Bournemouth was very, very good. But it's more of an overview. It's an overriding sense of where I think Liverpool are. And I've seen this multiple times, how they're able to build up steam, how they're able to kind of, you don't really pay attention and you look and it's 2024, we're 3 weeks into 2024. They've not lost a game in the league except one, which I don't really count. I don't count the one against Spurs. They're basically invincible this season so far. They're balancing multiple competitions, which usually is a good sign. The weaker managers in the league, especially likes of Ten Hag and maybe Pochettino, etc., have maybe come out of points and sort of talked about weaknesses in squads when playing multiple competitions. Jurgen Klopp uses it as a massive opportunity to garner belief, to build trust in his system, and he's done that, whether it's the Europa League, the League Cup, the FA Cup. Liverpool are in all 4 competitions. It's basically the quadruple season, except the fact obviously they're not in the Champions League this season, which is unfortunate for them. So on every metric, this Liverpool side are absolutely purring in a whole different way. And I know it's Bournemouth, but going away from home is not easy in the Premier League. Going away from home and making a marker in the ground when City obviously aren't playing with the break given to City after the FA Cup games and obviously Premier League games. So Liverpool are able to kind of make this point that at the start of the year, we're going into it with Liverpool firmly on top. There are some observations that I've made from the game. And obviously, having a few hours of hindsight, you do think from top to tail, this Liverpool side are very, very balanced. The midfield is absolutely exceptional. But there's a couple of performances in the defensive line. You think, wow, no Trent today, obviously. But Virgil van Dijk and Konate, they are performing at a very, very high level. They understand each other very well. They're able to read out danger very, very well. There was a moment where Van Dijk, I think, was taking the ball out and he was bumping into, it might have been Kluivert or Brooks, someone that was in that kind of attacking midfield situation. He shrugged off. He shrugged off the Bournemouth player, and you just think the centre-back partnership of Arsenal is very, very good. The centre-back partnership of Man City is very, very good. Diaz and Stones, that is. Van Dijk and Konate are absolute units. They're absolutely huge. It reminds me of those great kind of partnerships where, Rio Ferdinand and Vidic, it's got the same physicality to it. And Konate is really coming into his own. A player that wasn't quite trusted at Liverpool, wasn't quite trusted instead of Matip, for example. And he's been given this license to just be this old school defender. I feel like he puts in such good challenges. And the great thing about Konate and Van Dijk, I'd say, is that you can always mark a defender and their success of how good they are as a centre-back is the amount of times you see them running backwards, in behind themselves. They don't know where players are. They're a little bit headless chicken. And Konate is always kind of facing play. He's always in control. He always seems to be in control. And he had this young kid, Bradley, to the right of him. And Bradley looked like Gary Neville after one game. The Scouse Gary Neville. He looked absolutely superb. And that is down to Jurgen Klopp's genius. We'll talk about him in a minute and how good I think he's getting this whole side playing. It's down to maybe Gomez being a bit conservative at left back as well, but Van Dijk being superb. But the fact that Konate is able to make someone like him, such a young kid, Bradley, be so calm under pressure. And obviously, it probably helps that you're playing in front of 100 people at Bournemouth. But what Konate is doing this season is very, very good. He was very, very good against Arsenal as well. He's good enough to lead the line without Van Dijk, which means Van Dijk maybe coming back from injury can be a little bit rested and rotated. And we're seeing that with Jurgen Klopp. He's rotating more and more players than other managers. He's getting more goal involvements from players that are substitutions. And he's able to influence the game in very, very big ways. The whole Liverpool side know exactly where they're going. That first goal is so symptomatic of where this Liverpool side are at the moment. We can always talk about how great Van Dijk and Alisson and all these players are. Diaz, I've been saying it for probably years at this point. But the real metric is that first goal for me. The real metric is the fact they're able to feed the ball into each other so quick. I think it was Curtis Jones brings the ball down into Jota, into Nunez, and it's a first-time finish. It's that kind of scary front three of Mane, Firmino, and Salah, where they always kind of knew each other. They could telepathically almost communicate with kind of runs and when to press and when to link up play. And they're doing it again. And these kind of relationships are forming, which shows you that this is not a flash in the pan. It's the genius of Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp is a manager that believes. Jurgen Klopp is a manager that is able to bring balance to a side. And the big one is putting fires out. There's a massive fire in this Liverpool side pre-Bournemouth. It's huge. There's no Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's been absolutely superb for the last 6 to 12 weeks, probably, for many months. Bradley comes in and he's almost the exact same player. Aguero leaves Man City and someone like De Bruyne, someone like Ilkay Gundogan, Sterling play the false nine. They're all kind of making the same runs as Aguero. They're all kind of getting into the same spaces. That's because of Guardiola's genius. He's able to kind of transmute the same performances out of players, even if they're not as good, even if they're not as experienced, because they know exactly what they're meant to be doing. There's a kind of transparency to what everyone has to do at Liverpool. I do think they're in a massive, massive position to win the league. There cannot be many sides that have been this far into the Premier League title race, running, however you want to say it, with this few losses, with this many goals, with a side that have still got a lot of room. Were Liverpool 10 out of 10 against Bournemouth? No, I think they were 6. I think they were 6 or 7 out of 10. Not to say they were bad, of course, they were fantastic. But I think they've got a lot of room to improve. Salah will come back. Trent will come back. Andy Robertson will come back. That's scary for the league. There's no question about that, in my opinion. Let's just talk about Arsenal. Arsenal beat Palace 5-0. They're the only side that can win the league except for Man City. I'm not including Aston Villa. I don't want to be disrespectful. I know Aston Villa fans have checked out the channel. I appreciate that. And I really do appreciate that. And the big thing for me, I just don't think Villa have got the ability to do it yet. I don't think Unai Emery's got the experience yet. I still think they're trying to get in the Champions League like Unai Emery's done with Seville in the past. I think that's a noble pursuit. Now, Arsenal, on the other hand, I know they've got a game in hand, but the points, there are points in a season where if you can just match the points for side and just hope that the other sides around you kind of drop points and, City take days off, then that's all you can do is put pressure on. You can put pressure on the opposition, and Arsenal did that. It was a very, very magnanimous win against Palace. I know Palace was shocking, but again, it's about balance, about having multiple high levels of performances. I know they've had a terrible run, Arsenal, but to see Gabriel and Saliba look so good, to see Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, Saka all linking up, scoring, free-flowing. The midfield operated very, very well as well, the way they were able to get the ball into the front three. So if Arsenal are able to get into this kind of automatic pilot mode of scoring goals again, they're going to rack up 6, 7, 8 wins in a row. There's a huge game here, obviously. That's why we're talking about it. It's Arsenal versus Liverpool in the league, which is a mirror of the FA Cup game. This has got to be a moment for Arsenal to really dent Liverpool's title challenges, and they can do it mathematically. I think it's so important when sides play each other that you have to win these games. You have to try and get one over opposition, even though it's 3 points. And people talk about these kind of winning records as if it's easy to do. If Arsenal can influence Liverpool in that game, I think it's in a few weeks' time. Can't quote me on that. There's a huge opportunity there for both clubs to really, make a marker. I think it's a game that actually neither side can draw because I think it gives too many opportunities to City. So it'll be an incredible game. But the way I'm seeing Arsenal is that they've still got a great defensive setup. David Raya, I think, has gone a little bit under the radar in the last few months, which is great. You don't want your keeper being in the headlines. You don't want people cutting to Aaron Ramsdale every week. I didn't see any cutaways to Aaron Ramsdale in the game against Palace. I think Declan Rice has been superb. I think Odegaard's getting back into some form. I even like seeing Emile Smith-Rowe play. I think it's good for the squad. I think Arteta has been guilty of not using enough of the squad at the right points in the season. And I think he's overused players because he's not quite sure in his ability, not quite sure in his side can maintain a level if Saka goes off. Smith-Rowe should have played 15, 20 games this season already. Maybe a lot of them are substitutes appearances. I think Klopp would have been playing Smith-Rowe. I think Guardiola would have played Smith-Rowe. It's just an example. But sometimes you have to balance the squad a little bit better than Arteta has been doing, in my opinion. And certainly having a little bit of a time off for Arsenal last week we saw more from Martinelli. We saw more from Trossard and Saka. Far more energy. Again, it's Crystal Palace, but I saw it at City. You know, City got reignited at the Club World Cup. City got reignited against Huddersfield in the FA Cup. The great managers use little, soft, easy wins. It's like making your bed. The first thing you do in the morning is making your bed. It's an easy win. It's not winning an Oscar, but it gets the day going. This isn't a motivational video, but it gets the day going. And I think Arsenal could have a run based off the back of the Palace result. Let's just look at Arsenal's fixtures coming up and we'll make some predictions, because Forest away, again, that Liverpool game is on the 4th of Feb, but Forest away, there's one less game in the FA Cup, whether you credit that or not. West Ham, Burnley, Porto, and Newcastle at home. Very, very, very winnable games for Arsenal, in my opinion, if not all of them. So Liverpool and Arsenal could find themselves in a very, very tight competitive race going into the next few weeks. Liverpool could be in a cup final by the next time we talk on this channel. If you've watched this far, make sure you subscribe, really appreciate it. Then they could be far in the FA Cup, because they've got Norwich City at home. That's 10-0 written all over it. Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Burnley at home, Brentford away. Both sides have got the ability to make massive runs in competitions that they're both respectfully in. And of course, the Premier League title race. I think they're both displaying a lot of balance and a lot of players that are coming into good form. Very keen to see what you think in the comments down below. If you watch this far, make sure you subscribe. Would really appreciate that. But I think Liverpool and Arsenal are serious rivals in this Premier League title race. And it's heating up. It's nearly like, it's basically the summer. It's basically the summer. The way the season's going, it's crazy. But yeah, I'll see you very, very soon. Be covering all the midweek action as well.